Hello there, I'm back again. Just want to sort of like talk about what's been happening in the UK recently in terms of like all the riots that's been happening across the country pertaining to sort of migration, illegal migration, people coming across the channel on dinghies and being housed in 4- and 5-star hotels at the expense to the UK taxpayer of, well, you dance to the tune of £8 million per day. And I suppose I can see how that may have UK residents disgruntled, considering how a lot of these so-called immigrants who are fleeing war-torn countries are all young men of fighting age, between the ages of 18 and 30, and how it sparked, well, how it sort of sparked controversy. What for? So yeah, there's been quite a lot of controversy happening across the UK with regards to the migration. So I think I thought I'd just add as well that a lot of the reasons why these riots kicked off in the UK was because of, apparently there was an immigrant from Africa who was on a Doctor Who promotional video when he was younger, had allegedly stabbed up 3 children. Now, whether this is the case or not, or whether it's just a false flag, a false flag event, it's all up in the air. But like what I've realised is like a lot of these disturbances are caused by the Hegelian dialectic, which is problem, reaction, solution.
Georg Hegel was a German philosopher who came up with a basic system for achieving the goals of the Illuminati called the Hegelian dialectic. This system is based on 3 steps. In step 1, a rogue government will create the problem that harms or even kills its own citizens. This deception is known as a false flag attack. In step 2, a rogue government will control the reaction to the problem which it created by typically blaming it on an enemy or some aspect of its own society over which it seeks more control. This is why the term false flag attack is so named. In step 3, a rogue government will offer the solution to the problem which it created. This solution is typically a war or a system of regulations. The solution would usually not be accepted by the public had the rogue government not created the crisis and controlled the reaction to it in the first place. A government which seeks increasing control can keep pushing society to accept its agenda by following a series of problems, reactions, and solutions which it planned all along. The significance of the Hegelian dialectic is not how evil it is, but rather how often governments choose to follow it. There has not been a major war in the 20th and 21st centuries that does not follow the Hegelian dialectic.
The Hegelian dialectic is a very subtle psychological process which can destroy conviction, crumble your conscience, and it can even eliminate every shred of opposition that might exist within you that would make you oppose the exterminating of Christian principles in society. And what is so sick about it is that it is very simple. It is a process which involves 3 phases, which are thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. The first phase of the Hegelian dialectic is simply presenting the thesis. A thesis is simply the ideologies or the beliefs of a group or of an individual. After this phase is completed, then phase 2 begins, which is the presentation of the antithesis. The antithesis is a completely opposite view from the beliefs or ideals presented in the thesis. This is done to confuse the thoughts of the dissenter or the target group. Then, when phase 2 is completed, phase 3 is initiated, which is the presentation of the synthesis. The synthesis is a compromise between the two radically opposed ideals or beliefs that were presented in the thesis and the antithesis, which brings about a completely new belief system. A completely new belief system which is more than readily accepted by the dissenter or the dissenting group, because it relieves the confusion that was on their mind, and unknowingly now they compromise their own belief system. This process is then repeated a number of times until the dissenter or the dissenters finally give up and accept a new belief system without any more dissent at all. And this is the process that the occult New Age movement is using to destroy Christian principles, Christian values, and to initiate in our society values that are wholly demonic and corrupt in their nature.
And we'll get into this later. The method they use is that of the Hegelian dialectic. Thesis played against antithesis leads to a synthesis. In other words, for Hegel, for history to make progress, you have to have conflict. And when you look at the key people in the order, you will find that they generate conflict. So Bush and Harriman politically are conflicting. Coffin and Buckley, although part of the same order, are in public conflicting with one another because conflict leads to the new synthesis.
The order want to accomplish in the Bolshevik Revolution?
You create opposing forces which you place in conflict. Out of conflict, you've got profit, you've got political power, and you can direct history. And if you look at the writings, for example, of the Trilateral Commission, they talk openly in the Trilateral Commission about managing conflicts, not solving conflicts, but managing conflicts. Conflict management, that's the cry.
So they got the profit, the power, and the management. Mm-hmm. Where do they want to steer history through the Bolshevik Revolution?
They wanted to set up, and they did, two opposing forces. Out of that came World War II.
So you'll tend to find that this is all started by the very people who want to bring about the problem to provide a solution to a situation we didn't want starting in the first place. But I thought I would just add that in there. So, as the way I understand it, now I know there's people who've migrated to the UK illegally who have been unnecessarily affected and targeted because of these riots, and needlessly so, because the frustration is being aimed at the wrong people. But I'm not going to get too deeply into that. But yeah, so we've had an influx of migration, illegal migration, unmitigated, coming across from France to the UK, across the Channel, by way of rubber dinghies. And as such, these so-called immigrants leaving and fleeing war-torn countries have been housed in 4- and 5-star hotels while others suffer on the streets. Now, after doing a bit of digging with regards to this illegal migration across the Channel from France to Dover and places along the east coast, come to the UK on rubber dinghies. After doing a bit of research, there's a few people also have been looking into this, and it's just like a lot of people are saying, it's just ironic how if these people, these young men between the ages of 18 and 30, shall we say, are young men of fighting age, are fleeing war-torn countries and travelling, making sort of like the difficult journey to travel across Europe to France and over the Channel on dinghies to the UK from a war-torn country. Why isn't there any women or children? Why is it all just young men of fighting age? You know what I mean? It does sort of make you wonder.
So I've had members of the Black Watch Regiment reach out to me who are training these young men in the west of Ukraine and in Antalya in Turkey. They are primarily officer ranks down to sergeant. They are then transferred from their place of training in Antalya or in the west of Ukraine to France. They sign the Official Secrets Act and they're then shipped over in with the immigrants and in with the odd refugees, a scattering of refugees, but primarily the foot soldiers. They're all forced to sign the Official Secrets Act before they come. Now, when these guys land on the shore, they stick out like a sore thumb because one, they've got military haircuts for a start, and they've got a certain posture, the way they carry themselves because they're officers. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening. They're then deploying these guys in key positions for up to 2-year contracts they're offering for these hoteliers. 2-year contracts, and hundreds of thousands of them are coming in. There's 4 or 5 grand a week, 4 or 5,000 a week coming in. These young lads, they are UN soldiers, and they will be deployed. They will be deployed when they feel they've got the numbers and they can justify another lockdown, be that under the guise of climate change bullshit, or saying there's another variance as these people that have been jabbed. When I went to the meeting with Segran last September, they said anyone that's had an active ingredient will have between 2 and 5 years to live. There is no cure. Mike Yeadon from Pfizer said that. He said there's no cure for them. They can have pine needle tea, whatever they want. It won't work. They're doomed. That's why it has to be intravenously introduced. Now, as these people begin dying in incredible numbers, there's your new variant. There's your need for a lockdown. And then these guys can start manning roadblocks everywhere, policing, and they'll go door to door, picking on the ones that are the most local. So I suspect what will happen then is you'll see these new super prisons be filled, and there'll be outbreaks of COVID amongst the unvaccinated in these prisons. Who will even blink? Who will even blink when you've got a country, half of whom are dying and sick, and they're told there's a new variant, and they're herding, taking away the danger, the unvaccinated, and there's outbreaks of COVID in these quarantine centres for the unvaccinated. Nobody's even going to do it. And that is the plan.
But what about our own soldiers?
They're posted abroad. They won't be here. They won't be here. The Black Watch know exactly what's happening. They're very frightened, I can tell you, but soldiers follow orders. And they're not posted in the UK. They're in the west of Ukraine, and they're fighting Russia, and they're in Antalya in Turkey. They're not going to be here. They may well know what's going on. They're soldiers. They'll do as they're told to. They're not going to be here. They're not going to be in the UK. It's going to be these foreign young lads. And the reason for that is the government know full well that they can't trust their own people because it's their women and kids they're targeting. And the other thing, the other reason it's been done for is because it was felt that British soldiers wouldn't be happy kicking in British doors. Why would they? Why would you want to kick in your own citizens, innocent people's doors and drag them off? But these young lads, these foreign young lads from Albania, from Iraq and Afghanistan, they're going to be only too happy to do that. And they'll do as they're told to do. That's the reality, So that's what's happening. I've spoke to soldiers who have told me I spoke to Anna de. She's a former army major. She's got many contacts still in the army, and they're all telling her the same thing. But if you say anything, oh, you're a racist, you're a far right-wing extreme, why would you not want to give these poor souls sanctuary? Come on, you know? These are young men of adult fighting age with fully charged smartphones, being trained in Antalya by our own forces, by Blackwatch. You know, what can't people see? And I would suggest these MPs have got a real moral dilemma now, because do they start rallying round and think about saving their own people, or do they take advantage of the promised seat on the ark for them?
But then the MPs will get dumped in it anyway.
Oh, of course they will. But it's a little bit like we've got the eels in the barrel scenario, haven't you? Where they're all wriggling about, open it won't be me, it won't be me, it won't be me. It will be you. Yeah, of course it will. Well, and when the last of us is let off, they'll turn their gaze on these MPs, because they'll have fulfilled their purpose. To be seen to be practicing democracy. Useful idiots. Yeah, useful idiots. And they will go. And there'll be no one to fight for them, because the likes of you, me, and you will be gone. Will be gone. That's the reality. You know, so will people wake up? I really don't know. But that's what I've been trying to do, is trying to gently wake them up to the reality of what's going on. And I never realised, you know, I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and it's very, very depressing and very upsetting, you know, especially when you feel like you're walking around on your own, because people just can't see it. They can't believe that anyone would be that horrible. And I cast my mind back when you can't think historically, and they tell us that they put these poor Jews went into the showers, didn't they, to be deloused prior to being resettled. And I don't doubt, I kind of thought, I wonder how many of those Jews walked into that shower knowing they were going to be killed, but not quite believe that anyone could be wicked enough to do it. And
generally, when you begin to wonder, the mind boggles, and you begin to look at this with new eyes and not the mainstream narrative, because clearly anyone who has any concerns about this migration, this this influx of migration by the hundreds of thousands, you're labelled far-right extremist just for simply having concerns or questioning it, or just trying to find out why have referendums, why have sort of like why is it that both political parties on the left and right seem to ignore the will of the people, and are very stern and stick hard to the globalist agenda. What globalist agenda, you may ask? Well, ask away. Now, again, you can go and search for this information yourself online, but you have the Agenda 21, Agenda 2021, Agenda 2030.
In 2019, the courts ruled that the Netherlands was actively in a nitrogen crisis. And that ruling has been the basis for our government to crack down on our farmers' rights and even move towards expropriation of their land. The nitrogen crisis does not exist. It's a pretext, it's a lie. The nitrogen crisis is a manufactured crisis created by bureaucrats in The Hague and in Brussels. The attack on farming in the Netherlands is part of a bigger global agenda that is centered around control. In fact, it's the typical globalist strategy. They create a crisis. Boy, have we seen that in the past few years, what that looks like. They create a crisis and then they say, well, and the answer to this crisis, the solution to this crisis is you giving up your rights. Not us, but you. And that's exactly what is happening here with the Dutch farmers. So remember how I said earlier in this speech that the farmers need to give up their farms before 2030, specifically that year? Yeah, so that's not a coincidence. That year doesn't come out of nowhere. So that year is basically the deadline that our global elites have given our country and will probably give you to abide by these new regulations. And that agenda is called the 2030 agenda. And now I have a slide showing you what that entails. So the 2030 agenda is a United Nations agenda. So there we go. Everybody is part of the United Nations, right? The entire world. And this agenda consists of 17 what they call sustainable development goals. And when you take a look at them right there, you're like, well, what's wrong with that? You know, they all seem very noble. No poverty, no hunger. Who could be against that? However, if we take a closer look at how they actually want to accomplish all of this, anybody with 2 functioning brain cells realizes that this cannot happen unless there is an active and maybe even forceful redistribution of goods, foods, property, and our rights, which basically comes down to the obliteration of all of our basic liberties and our rights. And these goals, as I said, are not restricted solely to the Netherlands. They are global. And that's where we see their true motive. The people behind this want to establish a one world government, a new world order in which they decide what we eat, when we eat, where we travel, when we travel, who we meet, and what we are allowed to spend our money on. Basically, control over every single aspect of our lives. And I'm sure that many of you have heard the famous sentence from Klaus Schwab, you know, where he says, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy, right? Yeah, that's this agenda. So why are the people behind this agenda specifically targeting farmers? Well, it's because obviously they really want our way of life and the things that we eat to radically change. They don't want us to eat foods that make us strong. They want us to eat synthetic meat created by Bill Gates. They want us to eat bugs. They want us to drink soy milk so that we become weak and obedient, and we do as they say, and we buy what they offer.
also have the Kalergi plan, which was devised in the 1950s. I may add some more information on that shortly, but it's all about well, essentially it's all about a great replacement.
The World Economic Forum in Davos has ordered global authorities to radically reduce the number of white people in the world by 2030. If you thought the Great Replacement was nothing more than a conspiracy theory, you might want to think again. According to a WEF report, white people are responsible for the vast majority of the world's problems, including climate change and colonialism. And in the interest of an equitable future for the globe, the number of white people must be reduced as a priority. The WEF has enlisted the United Nations to help with the plan, and the results are already playing out before our very eyes. The Netherlands has become one of the global elite's testing grounds for the most extreme policies. Just as the Netherlands was ground zero for the elite's war on farmers, Dutch cities are also operating as laboratories for the elite's plans to depopulate the world and radically alter demographics. Eva Vladingerbroek reports from the Netherlands.
Amsterdam currently consists of 56% migrants. The Hague, 58% migrants. Rotterdam, almost 60% migrants. And of course, most of these immigrants come from non-Christian, non-Western, African and Middle Eastern countries. Conclusion: the Dutch population is already outnumbered in the majority of our cities. But let's look onwards. London, 54% migrants. Again, conclusion, native population outnumbered. Brussels, color me shocked, 70% migrants. Conclusion, native population majorly outnumbered. And other Europeans will of course follow suit soon if they haven't already. So I'm going to draw the forbidden conclusion here. The Great Replacement theory is no longer a theory, it's reality. And what's interesting about replacement is that the establishment will either deny its existence, or when they admit to it, they say that it's a good thing that the native European population is soon no longer a majority on its own continent. Dutch national disgrace and dubbed climate pope Frans Timmermans already stated in 2015 that diversity is humanity's destiny and that Europe will be diverse. And of course, by now, I think we all know what they mean with the word diversity. It means less white people, less of you. Imagine this in an Asian or an African country. Imagine their leaders rejoicing in the fact that their people will soon no longer be a majority in their own country. Absolutely unthinkable, unimaginable.
What is wrong with our leaders? They are fully bought and paid for by compromised reprobates who have hitched their wagon to the globalist agenda and take their orders directly from Davos. Catching the elite in mask-off moments is nothing short of terrifying. Take, for example, footage of a top CDC official saying that the elites must get rid of all the whites in the United States and replace them with immigrants to create a more compliant society. Dr. Carol Baker was describing what she described as the solution at a panel discussion in New York City.
The solution. Every study published in the last 5 years, when you look at vaccine refusers, I'm not talking about, well, hesitants, most of them we can talk into coming to terms, but refusers. We'll just get rid of all the whites in the United States.
You won't be surprised to hear that Baker was appointed chair of the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization by Barack Obama's Health and Human Services Secretary in 2009. She was also honored with the 2019 Albert B. Sabin Gold Medal at a DC ceremony sponsored by Pfizer and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Is anyone surprised that a Bill Gates-connected CDC official is openly suggesting depopulating America of white people who don't cooperate with the elite's vaccine agenda? This is the same Bill Gates who told world leaders that it's time to talk about death panels that will sentence ordinary law-abiding people to death for the crime of being no use to the elite.
You know, is spending $1 million on that last 3 months of life for that patient, would it be better not to lay off those 10 teachers and to make that trade-off in medical costs. But that's called the death panel, and you're not supposed to have that discussion. So you, of course,
well, that's an interesting thing you just said, which is just the last 3 months in life for one person or something, because we haven't had a discussion of how to allocate that money. It means we lay off 3 teachers to do so. I mean, in other words, we haven't had this type of allocation.
We're making that trade-off because of huge medical costs that are not examined to see which ones actually have no benefit whatsoever. And because of pension generosity, we will be laying off over 100,000 teachers, which, you know, I'm very much against that. And the whole AFT will agree with me on that.
This is the psychopathic world Bill Gates and his associates at the WEF are determined to usher in as part of their great reset and great replacements. But it gets even worse when you understand how far and wide their evil ideology has spread. The globalist elites are no longer hiding their plans to depopulate the world by reducing the number of white people. This is a multi-pronged attack, and we are now seeing what it looks like in real time. Of course, the mainstream media is still operating under instructions from the elite to attack anybody who dares to express what they can see with their own 2 eyes. They'll attack you, shout you down, and pressure your employer to fire you. You might even lose your bank account. You are simply not allowed to talk about the human tragedy of Biden and Harris's open border. Even though Biden is on record laying out his great replacement vision in 2015 in plain English for everybody to understand.
An unrelenting stream of immigration, non-stop. Folks like me who were Caucasian of European descent, for the first time in 2017, will be in an absolute minority in the United States of America. Absolute minority. Fewer than 50% of the people in America from then and on will be white European stock. That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength. An unrelenting stream of immigration, non-stop. Folks like me who were Caucasian of European descent, for the first time in 2017, will be in an absolute minority in the United States of America. Absolute minority. Fewer than 50% of the people in America from then and on will be white European stock. That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength.
Biden is a compromised puppet politician who's been shamelessly selling out America to the globalists for decades. Now that he's been sacrificed by the global elites in favour of Kamala Harris and appears to have been replaced by a body double who's approximately 8 inches taller than the latest version, it's worth pointing out that the elite think we are incredibly stupid.
Now, this border crisis is not just happening in the UK, it's also happening at the southern border between Mexico and the USA, and it's also happening in the northern border between Canada and the USA. But these migrants are coming from all over. You said all over. What do you mean all over? Well, as I was cut short at the end of my minute video there, when I say all over, like all over the world, they're coming from like the Middle East, Africa, places like that. And not only that, there are people coming from Latin America. Well, can't really say Canada, but like from Latin America, such as in Mexico now, you don't need a visa to fly from Mexico to Canada, and there's a lot of migration happening that way, travelling to Canada, especially in the summer months while it's still nice and warm. They come, especially to like Bangor, Maine, places like that, Halifax. Is it Montreal? They have like essentially the border. It's just there's no one really patrolling it, and you can just cross it. Especially in the summer, it's very easy. You can just cross over the border into America, and there's this garage, a taxi rank essentially. So yeah, there's this petrol station, gas station, as they say in America and Canada and such. So there's a gas station where in New York State, because I realise New York State travels all the way up to the border between America and Canada, and so there's a lot of immigration coming across there, and they meet at this gas station where there's lots of like Ubers and NYC yellow cabs and things like that, and me picking up like or a variety of nationalities. It's not just Mexican, you know what I mean? I'm not having a go at Mexico, but there's a lot of people travelling to Mexico because it shares a border with America, but also because you don't need a visa. Well, that may be more, but like essentially there's all kinds of people who may be pretending that they're Mexican, but they're flying from Mexico to Canada because they don't need a visa, and then from there coming into America. So hold on. So they're flying from Mexico to Canada without the need for a visa to like travel to Canada, but from there the sneaky scoundrels heading across the border to New York State to this gas station, which is like it's all set up by the cartels allegedly. You know what I mean? This is just what I'm hearing as you do a bit of research, and a lot of people in Ubers and yellow cabs, things like that, are travelling up to this gas station to meet these illegals to get into a taxi to travel to New York City, because the immigration laws are, to the point where they won't send you back, and they'll just house you in properties all over New York City and New York State. And so that's why there's a lot of people heading that way, taking that route to Canada through to America, down to New York City, to be processed. While doing so, they've like being housed and taken care of. And so what's been like sort of discovered while transporting these illegal immigrants from like New York State, like at the border, from like on the border, sharing the border with Canada, they're getting into Ubers and yellow cabs and travelling back to New York City. And while travelling, taxi drivers are having conversations. I mean, there's one video that one of the drivers shared. I think it was an Uber driver who shared it on TikTok. I don't actually have TikTok, but like you can, obviously people download the videos and share them on Instagram and other platforms, blah blah blah. And he was talking to this so-called migrant who turned out to be a UN soldier from Africa who'd been trained in Ukraine by British special forces in preparation. Well, you will see.
Where she was offered a fat chunk of money to put these immigrants in her house, her property. Then a delivery came, a container, and she dared to open that container and saw that container had guns in it. And the question was, back then, I thought, are these people supporting the British Army? Are they going to be working with them? No, I think this, and this could get taken down. They allowed people to come into this country. There are well above capacity for this country to handle the amount of people. We all know that because we're feeling it, right? Something like 68 million when there should be 32. They bring them over, they let them in, they put them in the hotels, and they give them guns. Then they create a civil war. And who's got the guns? The immigrants. And what happens? A civil war at a level that people haven't seen. If you're shocked by what's occurring right now, prepare yourself with what's to come. Because if what I think is going to happen, and if these immigrants are pissed off by what you guys have done, or what you guys have been programmed dumbly to sheepy follow and do, think about it. The government let them in. They house them. They give them everything for free. You're going to get pissed by that. There's no doubt about it. I get pissed about it. Why am I working? Why am I paying taxes? Why am I having to pay for everything? And they're getting everything for free. Who's not going to get pissed about that? The government let them in. They house them for free. The locals get pissed. They get angry and riot. They abuse Muslims. Because these are what the immigrants are largely, aren't they? They're Muslims from the countries that the West have gone in and screwed over. They piss off the immigrants rise. Who's going to give the guns to the immigrants? It's not even going to give, they've given them. There is an army of people within. And those people, when they come up, you and your wheelie bins and your pallets and your distant level of attack is nothing compared to what they can deliver, because they've faced it themselves in their own countries at the hands of people.
So yeah, so there's illegal migration happening all over the Western world, all Western countries, that's including Australia, New Zealand, yeah, Europe, UK, that's the United Kingdom, that's England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales, and also the Republic of Ireland as well, okay, which is part of Europe, because Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland are separate, you know, and as well as America and Canada, right? And so, yes, so you've got all this illegal migration being sent all over the Western world, right? And you've all been trained by special forces, whether British or American, right? And they're all UN troops, and they've all been trained in different parts of the world, like Latin America, parts of Ukraine, other parts of the world, yeah, Africa, things like that, training these migrants.
I'm not doing wrong. I'm representing my people. My people want to know why. What are you doing in my? What are you doing in my country? What are you doing in my country?
I'm not some illegal immigrant. Come on.
So who's these people in here then?
Whoever they are, you are not.
So you're not allowed to say nothing. So Serco. So you're working for Serco, aren't you?
Because you have no concern.
It's my concern, all right. When you're going to try and take when them people in there's going to try and take my freedom off me. No, they're going to try and take my freedom. They're going to try and take the British people's freedom. And there.
You are trying to defend the great people of the United Kingdom.
Correct. So all I'm asking is, who are these people in this building? Who are these people in this building, mate? Hi guys, it's Wednesday morning the 24th. It's 6:45 at the moment, and I'm up at the same place where I was last Monday. I heard there was a bit of movement going on with buses, apparently 2 buses coming in this place where I was actually in this place last Monday, and security was a bit heavy, so I'm going to go in and check it out again and see what they say. I'm going to pull out here. I'm going to park here for a minute so that I can walk up. That's what I'll do. I'll walk up to the place, see what they say. I'll just park here out the way because they take my registration plate, phone police and things like that. Now there it's there. You see it? I'm just going to take a video of it over here. That's it. That's the actual surrounding of the place. So it's just right on the edge of the motorways. Do you see that now? This is how they do it. Most of these places, most of them are at the edge of the motorway. This is Wakefield, Yorkshire. So what they do is quite a good getaway from the main drag, so they don't have to go through towns. Seems to be that all these hotels are all basically in the outskirts of the town, sort of thing. So I can actually just saw a guy there at the car just now there. So the security's over that way there. So I'm going to go and see this guy there now. See that he's just walking in there now. He's working his security as well. So I'm going to go and see this guy over here. Peeping the horn at me because I'm wandering about here. I'm just going to go and ask him straight. See what he's got to say here. But this is it here, look, see it? That's it here. Just see what these guys have got to say here. Hi up, buddy. I'm doing a documentary for my broadcast. Can you tell me, right, just be straight with me, see all the immigrants in there that's coming in the boats, Are they being trained for United Nations soldiers? Just be straight with me now.
No, I don't know any such thing. And if you could please stop this.
Yeah, no, I know, but this is a public place. I can actually find. Are the United Nations soldiers? Just be honest.
What?
Are they training up to be soldiers?
You could please turn off. You know it's illegal. You can't film.
It's not illegal. No, it's not illegal. I know, but you can film me as well. It's not illegal. It's for my safety and your safety. Right, so this is the Cedar Park Hotel. Look, it's in Wakefield. There's thousands of these coming in now. Right, there's the guy's registration plate. So I'm going to shoot off now, but it's awfully quiet. There isn't any coaches here now. But we believe there's coaches picking these guys up. They're being brought in as United Nations soldiers to fight, to lock us down, to keep us all locked down in the future. The government has ordered these people to come in the country and lock us all down. Look, as you can see here, the guy knows. He's ashamed because he knows we've caught him out, don't you?
Why would I ashamed?
You know.
You are doing wrong.
I'm not doing wrong. I'm representing.
Permission to film me.
My people.
You are accusing me.
My people want to know. Why? What are you doing in my? What are you doing in my country? What are you doing in my country?
I'm not some illegal immigrant. Come on.
So who's these people in here then?
Whoever they are, you are not.
So you're not allowed to say nothing. So Serco. So you're working for Serco, aren't you?
Because you have no concern.
It's my concern, all right. When you're going to try and take when them people in there's going to try and take my freedom off me. No, they're going to try and take my freedom. They're going to try and take the British people's freedom. And now.
You are trying to defend the great people of the United Kingdom.
Correct. So all I'm asking is, who are these people in this building? Who are these people in this building, mate?
Why are you asking?
Because at the end of look at them coming. Look, have a look. Watch this. Look.
Can I help you, please?
Yeah, I want to know who. I just want a straight answer. Who's these people in that building?
It's none of your business.
So it's none of my business, no. So it's Serco. You're working for Serco, and they're bringing in.
Firstly,
yeah.
You're trespassing this property, okay?
I'm here. I'm on the outside. It's public place, buddy.
It's a private car park.
I'm just letting you know. The British people know. The British people know who you are, and they know you're complying with evil. You're complying with evil, right? You video me, I'll video you. Look at them. Look at them with their masks on. Look at them. Look at them, the devil.
If you got any problem, right? Can I speak?
Yeah.
If you got any problem, you can speak to your government, okay?
Listen, we know what yous are doing. We know exactly what you're doing. It's written all over your face and that man there wearing a mask.
Okay.
Look,
you're not allowed to
showing your alliance to evil. There's another one with a mask coming. Look. Well, let's go out here then. Let's go out here. Well, let's talk here. Come on, let's talk here.
Why are you trying to be racist?
I'm not trying to be racist. I'm just. You're playing the racist card. You're playing the racist card. Oh. I'm on about the people's freedom in this country.
If you got any problem, speak to the government. Okay?
Yeah, I will do. But I'm speak. We know exactly what's going on. We know exactly. It's all over the country. You're ordered by design to bring in. Yous will be held accountable.
If you're not happy, speak to the government.
You'll be held accountable for this. Don't you worry. The people's coming for all yous. So all your faces are marked. All your faces are marked, your registrations.
I'm not scared, right?
Right.
You can tell me what you want.
So he's no scared. Look at him. He's no scared. Look at his face. Look at his face. He's no scared. Look at him.
You can take my picture, that's fine. Whatever problem you got, you need to speak with your government. Because they're allowing it.
We will. Listen, the people. See, when I wake up, the people are awoke. The people's coming for all of yous, by the way. We know what you're doing. We know who they are in there. We know who yous are. So you make up a lie. The government makes up a lie about COVID. Yeah? So then they bring in the UN soldiers, pretending they're refugees when it's UN soldiers from Iran, Afghanistan. And we know what yous are doing, mate. Look, we know what you're doing. Yeah. I know. Speak to government. Yes. So, don't worry. When the people come for you, remember my face. Yeah, remember my face when the people come for you.
Take care. Enjoy your day.
Yeah, I will do. Don't worry. They've just followed me. right? They've just followed me, they've ran after me in 2 cars, right? One of them's, look, just behind me now, if you'll see, he's coming up here now. There he's there, look, there he's there, look, he's just following me there. That's the guy, that was the car there. He came up to get my registration plate. There it's there he's there. The same guy was I was talking to at the desk. Look at him, look at him. Look. See him with his circle badge on? He's peeping the horn at me, yeah. We know what they're all about, don't we? We know what they're all about, yeah. We know.
Well, we've got a lot of military movement here in the Divided Kingdom. They say United Nations on them. A lot of them. I wonder what's going on, eh? Shit ton of movement going on. Lovely. Nothing to see though. Hands, face, space. Keep your distance.
So naturally you're thinking, training them for what? What could American and British Special Forces, what could be possibly training these illegal migrants for? Well, this is what I've gathered based on the research that I've done, as I've been, like I say, I keep an eye on these type of topics because look, a lot of people like to read tarot and they like to delve into individuals' lives and pick up on energies and things like that, and they really do enjoy that. I'm not denying them their pleasures, you know what I mean? Sometimes I find it very interesting, you know, but I like to keep my finger on the pulse of bigger, more life-threatening scenarios of what's happening around the world. And, well, you know, what could you possibly think these people are being trained for? Well, I'll tell you. So, as I'm sure you're already aware, there's a lot of problems so-called with this proxy war in Ukraine and Russia, and more recently there's been a lot of stuff kicking off in Israel, Gaza Strip, conflict between Palestine and Israel, like how, you know, there's a lot of like killing going on there, whether it's soldiers or innocent lives, yeah. And then you've got the threat of Iran bombing, and then you've got Yemen, and then you've got Houthis, Kurdish, you know what I mean? There's going to be, shall we say, all-out war at some point whereby China, Iran, Russia, North Korea will probably like unite together against the West, shall we say, you know, Israel. So there's going to be all-out war, okay? Now, it's been discussed in the UK that should the threat of World War III be creeping on our doorstep, conscription will be reinstated, you know, or national service. They started with national service, and then if the youth are refusing to do national service, which essentially is compulsory mandatory, they will conscript the young people, so from the ages of 18 to 34, shall we say, yeah, and they'll all be trained to go to war. So what will happen is, I mean, it's inevitable, it's coming, it's already been prophesied, so that all our troops, right, will go to wherever the war's happening with the East, so East and West combat against each other, right, and so all of our youth will be taken away and you'll be left with Dad's army back at home, the home guard. So you've got countless youths being shipped out to war, fight in another country elsewhere, because like by the looks of things, China's going to invade Taiwan. There's just going to be a massive bloodbath in the Middle East, basically destroying nations and killing off as many people as they can, because these people who orchestrate these kinds of wars are just bloodthirsty, you know. So yeah, so all our youth will be sent off to war, and so you'll be left with, say, people at the ages of 40 upwards, you know, who not as active, not as physically active, not as in shape, like more easily overpowered, shall we say, by, I don't know, migrants of a fighting age who've been left behind in our respective countries. And you see what's happening? Okay, so you have UN troops from like the Middle East, Africa, places like that, okay? And they've been trained by our special forces. And they won't be sent out to war, they'll be left behind. And so while our armed forces head out to fight in the Middle East, Russia, Ukraine, all out war, yeah? So Europe's just going to be a battleground, a bloodbath. The Middle East, it's going to be a bloodbath, yeah? And all of these UN forces who have been trained by special forces will be left behind to essentially overpower the people who are not physically capable to defend themselves as, let's say, younger people between the ages of 18 and say 34. How about that? And naturally you'll say, Trevor, you've been preposterous. You've been absurd, you've been irrational. There's no way that this sort of thing could happen. I mean, for instance, where would they get the guns? I mean, after all, this is the United Kingdom. This isn't America. We don't have guns anymore. Oh, well, you need a very special license, and you need to hold all guns in cabinets at the gun club in order to be in possession of a firearm. Well, yes, technically you're right, but the people we deal with don't play by the rules. The dirty, cheating, stinking bastards. Right? Now, let's not forget that these UN troops have already been trained by our armed forces. And so there is and I'll put it this way, our governments are complicit in the betrayal because they're all in on the act. You know what I mean? That's why all these people have been sent here. That's why they've been trained by our British services for this. But the thing is, I'm not being preposterous, and this really is happening. Just like the migration that's coming from Paris to the UK across the channel in the rubber dinghies, what's happened is they've been escorted over by the French in boat, and then they've been escorted over the rest of the way, like the other half of the way, by a British boat to the shore, and what happens is that these rubber dinghies then all get collected back together, strapped up, put on a lorry and sent back across the Eurotunnel to ready for more redeployment of more UN troops, essentially being sent into the UK, housed in hotels. I mean, a lot of these so-called migrants have already stated that the UN fighting force that have been trained by our special forces in places like Ukraine, in places like Latin America, in places like Africa, or wherever else. And the reason that we know that the UN troops is because people who stand outside of these, UK nationals who are standing outside of these hotels, they're talking to different people, and some of them boast about it. I mean, they're all given brand new smartphones, all brand new like clothing. They're well looked after, while our veterans get to rot on the street, and there's countless homeless people left to wreck and ruin on the streets, while these soldiers are being brought over and housed in places like 4 and 5 star hotels, bed and breakfast, things like that. Interesting topic as well on that point. So a lot of bed and breakfast up and down the country have been, shall we say, commandeered by the UK government, financed by the UK government. So there's one particular whistleblower who is the owner of a bed and breakfast establishment, leaked to whoever in a recording that they were approached by the UK government to house these refugees escaping allegedly war-torn countries. All men, you notice straight away, all young men of fighting age, between the ages of 18 and 34, shall we say, around that bracket, and they're all were paid, and she was paid by the government to house these refugees fleeing like war-torn countries. But one of the conditions was that she had to sack her staff, and she would be issued with new staff paid for by the government while they were looking after these, refugees. And so for a while everything was going okay. She thought she was doing a good deed until again she was contacted by the government, by the UK government, that would they receive that so they would be contacted by the UK government to inform them that some parcels would be arriving to the bed and breakfast at some point. And so she was like, oh, okay, no problem. And then, a couple of days went by, something like that. Knock at the door, at the premises. The bed and breakfast owner went to answer the door to be greeted by, you guessed it, British military, to drop off some wooden crates. Not suspicious at all, I hear you saying. No, not suspicious at all. More to follow. So essentially these crates were kept in storage on the premises in whatever, there may have been some facility within the property whereby they could store all these wooden crates. And obviously seeds of doubt had instantly been planted with the bed and breakfast owner upon arrival of these wooden crates and to be greeted at the front door by British military. So naturally, she's thinking, what the fucking hell's going on here? Like, all these migrants seem to be young men of fighting age. There's no women or children, with these men from a so-called war-torn country. And then all of a sudden we're being told by the government that we need to sack our staff to be restaffed by government staff while dealing with these migrants. So obviously red flags were just waving like fucking crazy, What's going on? We've got migrants fleeing a war-torn country, no women or children anywhere on the premises, which seems to be a little strange because normally if you're fleeing a war-torn country, you bring your women, you bring your wives, you bring your kids with you as you flee to start anew in another country. But that's not the case with this scenario. It's just all young men of fighting age being housed in hotels, bed and breakfasts at the expense of the UK taxpayer to the tune of £8 million per day. Right, and then the next minute you're having your staff sacked and restaffed by government staff, and then you're having British military turning up on your doorstep, delivering wooden crates to be stored in storage, wherever that may be, yeah? Red flags alert, yeah? So anyway, there was these crates in storage. This bed and breakfast owner was sitting on them for a while, filled full of doubt, filled full of curiosity, thought they were doing a good turn, realising there's something fucking sinister going on, and she's like conferring with friends and family and other business owners and the likes, conversating about what these fucking wooden crates are. I mean, you can have a good fucking guess if you've seen British military, but you don't want to initially think of that, but it became more and more suspicious as time went by, and so as conversing with friends and things about the wooden crates, they basically said, well, it's on your fucking property, you have the right to inspect these crates to see exactly what is the cargo that's being stored on your premises by HM government. Having had the conversation, took sort of like advice of what steps to do, took it under advisement, what the possibilities you could do. So this bed and breakfast owner decided to go to the storage facility where they were kept and crack open one of the crates, yeah? And so that's what they did, got the old crowbar out, cracked open one of the wooden crates, and lo and behold, there was AK-47 Kalashnikovs in these crates. So it's just like, oh my god, there the blood leaving the fucking body, the face going white, and then crack open the crate, fucking hand grenades. I mean, there was enough ammunition, guns and explosives to start your own little war and take out a village or three. You know what I mean? So the fucking panic sets in. No one watching you, after having inspected the crates and uncovering the fact that there was ammunition, guns and explosives there, you know, it doesn't take a genius to put two and two together, right? And naturally, if they bring in all of these armed troops into the UK and the rest of the Western world with the same intention in mind, and that they're going to bring about conscription, reinstate it, train up our youth, send them out to war, Christian nations, remember, send them out to war just to basically annihilate each other, while these UN forces go to these secret ammunition caches in storage all around the fucking country, as well as the rest of the Western world, with the same sort of so you've got all these artillery caches placed in storage up and down the country, as well as the Western world. It doesn't take a genius to work out what the strategy will be once all of our armed forces have been sent overseas to fight a fucking bankers' war, basically. They're going to essentially arm themselves, equip themselves, and slowly but surely start taking us out, especially if you live in large population areas. They will be the first places to fall, right? If you're out in the sticks, probably won't be as easy to take down, and we may have more leeway, but chaos is coming no matter which way you want to look at it. And yeah, if you don't want to believe us, that's absolutely fine, you know what I mean. Go do your own research. At the end of the day, always ask questions, knock and seek answers, and you shall find them.
Wake up!
People of England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. First of all, I want to apologise because I feel I betrayed you. This is going to be very hard for me to do, but it needs to be told. I'm not going to tell you my name, you can just call me the whistleblower, because this needs to be told. I own a small bread and breakfast / hotel on the outskirts between London and Bristol. Exactly where, I won't say. I was commandeered by the office of 10 Downing Street to rehome refugee families. When the first lot of refugees came, there was not one woman, there was not one child. The people that turned up were men from the age of 19 to 30, I would say. I have enough room for about 250 residents. I currently house 150 immigrants. Yes, I did receive quite a large sum of money for doing so. On doing so, the government told me that I had to fire all my staff and they will supply their own, and also that they will supply security guards for the bread and breakfast. Well, about 2 weeks ago, I received a phone call to say that a large parcel will be arriving sometime this evening. Around about 2:30 in the morning, I received another phone call to say that the parcel has arrived, and can I open up the rear servant entrance at the back of the B&B, which I went down and met some army personnel, which kind of surprised me very, very much. The person in charge, I don't know who he was, colonel or whatnot, asked me to show him to a secure room within the B&B, which I did. On doing so, they loaded in roughly between 60 and 70 really big crates. I asked what was in the crates, and I was told that I was not permitted to know. He then handed me a smaller parcel, and told me that I will receive a phone call to give me further instructions on what to do and when to open this parcel, which was very strange. So I've had this parcel now for about a week in my office, and I started talking to a friend of mine, and he said, well, do you know what, you don't know what's inside those parcels, it could be anything, it's your property, whatever's inside your property, you own the rights to open, and I should have a look what it was. And I was debating about it for a little while, and I thought, you know what, you are kind of right. If it's in my property, I want to know what it is. So I opened the small parcel up, and inside was a letter with a list of names and numbers written next to the name. On realising that each name on the letter was one of the refugees, and there was a smaller box inside the parcel, I opened that and there was a series of keys with numbers on. So I went down to the secure lock where these crates were and noticed that each crate had a number on it and each key had a number on it. So I took 2 keys for 2 of the crates and I opened up the crates. Crate 1. There was a load of AK-47 machine guns. Crate 2 were a number of hand grenades. Now when I say this, I'm saying this as you could start a new war off with what I was looking at. There was enough ammunition inside one of the crates to easy wipe out my little village. Boom, gone, easy. Now I'm a bit stuck because I don't want these refugees here anymore, but I'm contracted to house them for a period of time. I don't know if I can give the government their money back and tell them to sweet off or not, I don't know. All I do know is in good faith, I cannot allow these men to have these crates. I am going to move them away from my property to a secure garage that I have not too far, because I'm not going to be responsible for allowing our government to kill us, the innocent people. Because it's obvious to me now that this is their plan.
And not only that, I mean, so I've hit you with that bombshell. Just wait until the fucking stock markets crash. Just wait until hyperinflation kicks in, and that's all coming within the next, well, let's just say the next 2 to 3 years. I mean, you're already seeing signs of it in the stock market now. These are things I keep an eye on. I mean, the United States is $35 trillion in debt. The country's bankrupt, right? Every Western country is bankrupt. I mean, you've got the likes of Keir Starmer.
I can announce today that following this meeting, we will establish a national capability across police forces to tackle violent disorder. These thugs are mobile, they move from community to community, and we must have a policing response that can do the same. Shared intelligence, wider deployment of facial recognition technology, and preventative action, criminal behaviour orders to restrict their movements before they can even board a train, in just the same way that we do with football hooligans. And let me also say to large social media companies and those who run them, violent disorder clearly whipped up online, that is also a crime. It's happening on your premises, and the law must be upheld everywhere. That is the single most important duty of government. Service rests on security, and we will take all necessary action to keep our streets safe.
about the investigation into Jimmy Savile, but I thought at that time that there simply wasn't the evidence, the testimony simply wasn't compelling. Also, Savile did have a great standing with people, and so the threshold for any action taken was always going to be higher, and some of the claims felt slightly frivolous. We felt that threshold wasn't.
Like now we've even got, what's his name, Keir Starmer, sir. That bastard excused Jimmy Savile. He's the one who signed off and said there wasn't enough evidence. That bastard is going to be the prime minister. So a guy who literally, who signed off and said not enough evidence of the man what we now know, Sir Jimmy Savile, who raped 500, while being greeted by the Queen and, BBC covering. Keir Starmer, is this acceptable? I'll tell you what, I'd rather die in the fight than bow to that crap.
Who's, sending over 3 billion of British pounds over to the Ukraine to allow Zelensky and his tranny wife to buy the first edition, what you call them? Bugatti, yeah. Yeah, so the old Zelensky, was it Vladimir Zelensky, and his tranny wife are receiving all these billions of pounds, right, from like America and the UK and Europe, billions of euros, billions of dollars, billions of pounds. Pounds are worth more than dollars and euros, so it's more when you convert it. Anyway, so yeah, so Zelensky's bloke man, wife, is it 5 million euros or 5 million pounds on a first edition Bugatti. So it just goes to show like the level of corruption in Ukraine and what they're actually doing with that money, as opposed to be bankrolling it for fucking war against Russia. But the more you know. And so yeah, chaos is coming. And for instance, Japan and China are the biggest foreign holders, especially Japan, of US government treasury notes, right? And obviously if Japan needs to stabilize their economy, they will sell off hundreds of billions of dollars in government treasury notes and bonds, things like that, stocks and bonds, right? And then much the same with China, because they've already lost 40 banks in one day, right? So there is an economic decline imminent, and it's on its way, right? And should both Japan and China and whoever else is invested in government treasury notes, stocks and bonds, sell off hundreds of billions of dollars worth, that's going to push the price of a dollar right down, and it'll cause hyperinflation, and you'll be needing shoebox upon shoebox of fucking dollars to buy a loaf of bread. Since you've had COVID, which they had the world shut down for 2 years, so there was no productivity or not much money getting made, so they were borrowing more money from central banks, which is causing more debt, more inflation, and then of course they then introduced quantitative easing, so the central banks are just printing more and more money because it's a fractional reserve banking system, so it's a debt-based system, so creating more debt through the printing of more money. And then you have the cloud and pivot strategy, whereby you're overwhelming the welfare state with impossible demands because of things like COVID, which is putting more stress on our Western economies, which will lead to a global recession and a stock market crash. And it's coming to the kicker for certain people that I know who are greedy cunts. So just so you know, this crash is coming, right? So all you greedy fuckers who've been trying to kill me off for this fucking money that you're trying to steal from me in order for you to have a fucking new beginning or a happy new start in life, well, you can kiss that all goodbye, right? Because pretty soon they're going to trigger World War III, they're going to conscript the youth, they're going to send them out to war, and we're going to be battling fucking UN troops that's been trained by British services, and the stock market's going to crash, hyperinflation's going to kick in, and all of you stupid cunts are going to be fucked, and you're going to lose it all, because like with all fucking banking, they just take whatever reserves you've got, right? Whether it's offshore accounts, whether it's invested in other fucking things. Once that stock market crashes, you lose it all, you fucking clowns, and you're all finished anyway, and you're all dying with fucking incurable STDs and cancer and other fucking illnesses. And guess what? I'll be fine. Champion. So yeah, that whole tale was a wonderful build-up to a perfect climax with a twist in the plot which basically renders you all inert, useless, pointless, and everything you thought you were going to get, you're not. Alright? Because you're fucked anyway. This world's fucked. Carnage is coming, whether you're prepared for it or not. I just enjoyed telling you that tale, which led to a powerful climax. And on that note, I'm going to sign off for tonight. I'll see you later.